communities like this and ensuring the transition delivers on the just promise. The investments that our governments and the private sector are making in renewable energy will play a critical role in creating good-paying jobs and reliable sources of clean energy. Facilitating a transition, it also requires the redevelopment of former fossil fuel and power sites and investments in infrastructure to support the development of new industries and economic opportunities. And that is exactly what the United States is committed to do. The Jetpay and the initial $8.5 billion financial package from South Africa's international partners, including the United States, is a demonstration of our expand employment opportunities, capitalize on growing new industries, and improve health outcomes. Seeing the programs here in Mpumalanga today gives me confidence in South Africa's commitment to capitalize on this opportunity, and the U.S. will stand alone.
Madam Secretary, the issue of just energy transition is a thorny one in terms of the pace of implementation thereof, because South Africa's baseline has always been on coal, and you have to be sensitive to communities, but also in terms of job losses, and you spoke about reskilling. Did you discuss this issue with President Ramaphosa and the Minerals and Energy Minister? Because there's some concerns that there's a pushback to implement the just energy transition. And particularly looking at the G7 member countries, some of them have gone back to coal. Did you discuss that?
Well, I did discuss the South Africa's Jetpay with both President Ramaphosa and also the energy minister. And we did discuss that what we're doing is trying to support a set of plans that South Africa has devised itself that involve a gradual transition and a recognition that we need to support communities that are affected by that transition, that jobs are important, and we emphasized that the just piece of Jetpay is critically important to us. It's something we are interested and committed to supporting, and that's why we're here today, is to see the ways in which partnering together, we're able to see a path by which, to start with South Africa, the transition doesn't leave workers and the next generation of young people on the just piece of it.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The Price Cap Coalition has 9 days to set the 2 new caps on refined products for Russian petroleum products. And the EU has just proposed $100 and $45 for those levels. Are those, particularly the 100, which would apply to diesel, satisfactory to the U.S.? Would they help meet the 2 goals of the program?
Well, look, I'm not going to get into details. We're in the middle of discussions with all of our partners, the G7 Plus coalition and the European community, about what is an appropriate level of prices to set. But I'm encouraged we will be able to imports goes into effect, and it's clear that we share the same set of goals. We're pleased that we think that set of goals, although it's early days for the operation of price caps, we think the crude price cap has been working to help us achieve these goals, and I feel confident that we can come to an agreement, but I don't want to get into the exact final details on where that's going to land.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You started off this meeting with a structure and a common framework, both praising them, but at times criticizing them. And I'm sure you saw the statement from the Chinese embassy in Zambia, which was quite critical of some of your comments. And I'm wondering if you think that there's still an opportunity, a path forward to work closely with the Chinese, or do you think the Zambian embassy statement was a way to sort of tamp down on any of this sort of burgeoning relationship?
Well, I really haven't. Have been discussing this with the Chinese. I believe we've made progress substantively on working together to understand the stumbling blocks and the issues that the Chinese are particularly concerned with. And I believe we're having, and I feel, well, I can't set out a timeline. I feel hopeful that we will find a resolution.
You're taking it back at all by the statement out of there?
It really wasn't that relevant to the issue of debt restructuring of these countries.
Sunday Times?
Madam Secretary, I hope as South Africans we rolled out our best hospitality, found a nice hotel for you where there's a backup generator. What was the transition like when there was a power cut into the generator? What was your experience of our load shedding, as we call it? But also in terms of the investment climate, what does it mean for investing in South Africa when South Africa has these crippling power shortages?
So, of course, we did experience some load shedding with generators that kicked in various places. We've been including the hotels, and we've been following and spending a good deal of time discussing challenges, obviously, in the energy sector. But let me say, we've also met with many businesses operating in South Africa. American businesses, other businesses, went to a Ford plant yesterday afternoon. The Ford plant has been operating in South Africa. It's celebrating 100 years, and they've just invested another $1 billion to expand production of the Ford Ranger to make South Africa their base for selling not just here, but in many parts of the world. So I think what I've heard is real enthusiasm and optimism about the opportunities that exist in South Africa, that there are very attractive investment opportunities, that these businesses really want to seize a constitutional system with courts that work well, a legal system that enforces contracts and does, other things that are critical to business, a very strong financial sector, wonderful set of educational institutions and universities training and making available a very skilled workforce. Do they see challenges? Absolutely. And of course, the energy sector, the load shedding, is a considerable challenge that greatly concerns them. At Ford, of course, the Ford plant itself, it has a guaranteed source of energy, and some of its suppliers have either that or backup generators, but many, many smaller suppliers aren't able to afford that and are badly affected, and smaller businesses clearly are very badly affected. So we heard about challenges of doing business in South Africa, but while there are challenges, we also heard a great deal of enthusiasm about the opportunities, and we feel we've had a long and strong partnership with South Africa, deep involvement in trade and investment, and I feel there's a lot of opportunity to strengthen that. President Ramaphosa has announced and supported reforms, structural reforms, that if they're carried through, will, I think, have important positive impact in addressing some of the challenges we've heard about from businesses.
Hi, Secretary Yellen. I wanted to ask in your conversations with South African officials here what your concerns have been, or what concerns you may have raised about the possibility of sanctions on Russia being evaded here in South Africa. There was a sanctioned Russian merchant ship that was spotted at a South African Navy base last month. South African officials have been critical of the U.S. sanctions on Russia. So I'm just curious what your concerns may be about sanctions evasion here and what your conversations may have looked like on that matter.
Well, we have discussed sanctions. I've discussed sanctions really in every country that I visited, And my main message is that we take very seriously the sanctions that we've placed on Russia in response to its brutal invasion of Ukraine. And violation of those sanctions by local businesses or by governments, we would respond to it quickly and harshly, and we certainly urge that there be compliance with those sanctions. That's the discussion I've had here generally.
One of the things that you just mentioned is the challenges here in South Africa in terms of investing. You're going on to speak to private donors and philanthropists and private donors. There are long-standing concerns about corruption in South Africa. To what extent are those concerns an impediment to raising the money that is needed to fill the gap between the 8.5 billion and the 98 or however many billions are needed to really ensure that this transition happens here? Are you concerned about corruption? Are these things that you spoke with sternly about with the South Africa?
Well, President Ramaphosa has been concerned about corruption and made this a major priority of his administration. And we agree that it's really critical to address corruption in order to have an effective government that South Africans can have confidence in, and it's a critical part of the business environment. We've talked about AML, CFT enforcement in some detail in our visits with government officials, and are looking in many ways to partner with South Africa to strengthen that regime. So certainly corruption is a critical issue, but we feel encouraged by the reforms that President Ramaphosa supports.
How much money are you looking for from the private sector and the donors? How much what is possible? What's in the realm of the possible from the donors and the private philanthropists?
So I'm really not sure, but we do know that we have a set of organizations that have generally expressed concern about the just part of just energy transitions. And we think with a plan in place here in South Africa, and the just part being extremely important, we want to talk to them about their willingness to step up and to help contribute. We feel that along with us and our partners, that these organizations could play a very helpful role. We'd like to see them do that.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Inako mang nna ke etse crossing ka 12 fa re tsamaye ha ba khathi.
Good 12. 10 to 12. Yeah. No, it's like. Okay. I'm still up, no?
Yeah.